Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. How are you guys doing today?
Jenny, I am doing great. Had a great night's sleep last night. Ready to do a number on you know who.
Shannon, I think today you better get in touch with your man LeBron James and tell him to quit talking about Michael Jordan. He is looking worse and worse, and I can't wait to talk more and more about that.
LeBron is just fine. Don't you worry about GOAT James. Still the GOAT.
Yeah.
You get him on the phone. You do your talking, Shannon. We will go all into Michael Jordan and LeBron. But to start today's show, we do have some important NFL news to get to because later today, the NFL will discuss a change to the Rooney Rule. The proposal is that a team who hires a minority coach or general manager will get a boost in the draft the following season. Tony Dungy came out and said that he didn't agree with it personally, but that it could spur some communication and conversation. So, Shannon, do you like the idea?
No, I don't. And Skip, and I honestly, sincerely, deep down believe that Commissioner Goodell has had conversation with the 32 owners and said, guys, this is not a good look. But Skip, what if the 32 owners did it like they do, they're putting their team together? Hire the best guy. You know what I'm saying? Just think about that, Skip. Just think, oh, we want the best quarterback. We're gonna draft him. Or we want the best this. We're gonna do that. Or we're gonna, trade or in free agency. We're just going to sign the best guy. But Skip, without a lack of diversity in ownership, the front office, people that's doing the hiring practices, Skip, I don't know what's going to change because it takes a special someone to hire someone that does not look like them, that doesn't sound like them, or they're not familiar, run in the circles in which the NFL and the people that are hiring, Skip, that are in. Skip, if you look at Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's first really job as an offensive coordinator, he got the job at San Francisco's offensive coordinator under Mike Nolan. When he became a head coach in Dallas, Skip, who was the first hire? Who was his first hire? Mike Nolan. Now Mike Nolan is back in position to get a head coaching job because he's now going to be front and center as a defensive coordinator. See, Skip, if you're not on the end, it's hard to get in. And, Skip, look, and I get it. Skip, it's hard. Skip, it is hard to tell a man that spends $1 billion, $2 billion on something and then tell him how to run it. Skip, it's just like you got your dream car. The ZR1 got 785 horsepower. It's a nice grade. But Skip, when you got that car home, if you wanted to paint it pink, you could have. It's your car. Because, I bought it. So they look at that commissioner like, you do realize we spent $1 billion to be able to do with this as we say. But, Skip, it's not a good look when you have, 65, 70% African-Americans playing the game and you have so few coaching the game. And it's just not a good look. But it's hard, Skip, when someone is not in the position of hiring or someone's not in a position of ownership, and, you're going to, hey, such and such, because they get opportunities. I mean, can you imagine, Skip, have you ever heard of an African-American getting a head coaching job as a special teams coach? No. Matt Nagy got a head coaching job. He didn't even call the plays. All Eric Bieniemy can do, he called plays and can get an interview. One, Cleveland. Maybe the Giants, But, Skip, the question that I have is, Skip, is that when you bring a minority in, are you bringing him in because of the Rooney Rule, or are you bringing him in to sincerely give him a fair opportunity to sit down, hear his idea, and how he would run your organization? Are you really doing that? And Skip, there's definitively no way to know. So I'm not going to beat up Roger Goodell because I do believe Roger is trying because he see that there's a lack of diversity. And the NFL, Skip, for the most part, they get failing marks when it comes to diversity. They don't get these marks like the NBA. But Skip, it's the good old, a lot of these men, Skips, are in their, 60s, 70s, and 80s. They have an idea, they have a way of thinking, and I don't really know how you get them out of that. Skip, I wish I had a better explanation to how the NFL could fix the hiring practices with minorities, but unfortunately, Skip, I don't, because it's just hard to tell a man to spend $1 billion or $2 billion what he should do and who he should hire for his ball club.
So, Shannon Sharp, I always greatly appreciate your wisdom and insight on these matters. And I hear every point you just made. They're not good points, they're great points. And I did appreciate what Coach Dungy said yesterday about, I've just never been in favor of rewarding people for doing the right thing.
The right thing.
And that's what this boils down to. So we can increase our third-round pick 10 spots if we hire a minority GM, and 6 more spots in the third round if we hire a minority coach. Why? Why wouldn't you in the first place? Why do you need incentive to do that? So I get it all. But now I'm going to tell you why I'm barely okay with this new incentivized program, which will go before the owners today. I believe it's at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I have no idea if it's going to pass or not. But the reason I'm barely okay with it is because I communicated last night with, as you know, my longtime friend, John Wooten, who has for many years been the driving force behind the Rooney Rule. And John surprised me because he was barely okay with this new incentivized program. And Shannon, the reason I think John's barely okay with it is he's beaten his head against this wall for so many years, sometimes with some success and many times with no success, that I think he's just saying, well, it's better than nothing, right? And I think John has realized over many years that, let's just say that this new program, as bogus as it is, as wrong-headed as it is, if it somehow affords an opportunity to one young African-American head coach, let's say, and he gets his foot in one door and he takes one team deep into the playoffs or, who knows, to the Super Bowl. As you know, Shannon, it's long been a sheep-think league. Oh, they're doing it at work, maybe I should try it. And when that happens, when we have a Coach Dungy in the Super Bowl, when we have him winning a Super Bowl, it can open a door, at least for a little while, for another run on young African-American coaches. So to me, if this gives us one new opportunity somewhere where it works for somebody, then maybe it's worth it, because it didn't work the last time around, as you know, Shannon. And last night I sat back, and I don't want to get too deep here, but it dawned on me that Dr. King died for this cause 52 years ago, and here we still are. So we're still having this conversation, and we're saying, how can we fix this? It's 2020. How can we fix it? Well, to your point, Shannon, you can't change the way a man thinks, the way a billionaire thinks. He did buy the team. He owns and operates. It's his call. It's hard to make him. So the league tried the first time around, they tried punitive. They tried to penalize you if you didn't give Rooney Rule interviews. And now they're saying, okay, that didn't really work. So how about if we incentivize? How about if we reward you? Oh, so we'll go for positive reinforcement instead of negative. Maybe that will work. I have no idea if it will work at all, but if you told me that it opened one door for one minority candidate who became successful, I'd say, okay, better than nothing.
You, Skip, you're right. My grandpa used to tell my brother and I, Skip, is that when he gave us chores to do and we'd have, do it, he would look at me and my brother and say, son, anything is better than nothing. But you two fellas are real close to nothing. Skip, this is real close to nothing. And as you said earlier, you're rewarding someone for doing the right thing. I need to reward you. Skip, just imagine, this is not an Allstate commercial where if you don't have an accident for 5 years, Skip, we'll give you $500. You don't get a speeding ticket. You don't get a moving violation. You don't have an accident. We'll reward you. Damn, Skip, shouldn't you do that regardless? Why must I reward you moving up in the third round for you to do the right thing? Skip, nobody believed that Jerry Jones was going to hire Marvin Lewis. Skip, now I'm very familiar with a lot of the African-American coaches that have gotten jobs. You know, I know Anthony Lynn, he was a teammate of mine. Marvin Lewis, I played with, I was on the team. I don't really know Lovey. I know Hugh Jackson. Steve Wilkes was Skip. He was the defensive coordinator. I think he might have been the head coach at Savannah. So I'm very familiar with a lot of these guys, Skip. But the thing is that they have to make good because the likelihood of them getting another opportunity isn't very good. So it's almost like there's always going to be pressure on being a head coach, Skip, because you only have 16 games and the turnover cycle is just so great. And it's easy for owners to move on. There's like, nah, it's not. Because Skip, look, I get it. Cliff Kingsbury comes in. But do we really believe Steve Wilkes got a fair opportunity in Arizona? No, we don't believe that.
No.
And it's just frustrating to me when I see how they think when it comes to players. They're going to get the best players. Skip, they're not looking at it if he's black. They're not looking. Now, that used to be the way they were thinking with quarterbacks. And then, Skip, it took Doug Williams winning the Super Bowl. And it's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. He won the Super Bowl. So, you know, hey, let's call Warren Moon. And then you see a run and you see guys starting to have success. The last two MVPs, Skip, have been African-Americans. And so maybe you're right. Maybe that's what's going to take because, you know, Mike Tomlin had success with Tony Dungy, won the Super Bowl. And then the counterpart was Lovey. But, Skip, we see Lovey go 8-8 at Tampa. He loses his job. And then somebody else comes in and goes 79, and they can keep the job. We look at